What's good? It's Wood. Do not sleep on this one. We have Rey Vargas, 36-0, taking on Shaquie Foster, 19 wins and 2 losses. This fight is for the vacant WBC super featherweight title. So we just saw Emmanuel Navarrete win that early fight of the year contender versus Liam Wilson, right? He stopped him in the 9th round. Excellent fight. That was for the vacant WBO 130-pound title. Shakur Stevenson was just a unified belt holder. He had the WBC belt and the WBO belt. He just dropped them both because he's pursuing 135 lightweight. So the 2 belts left in his wake are being competed for, first in that Navarrete versus Wilson fight, and now the WBC belt that he left behind is being fought for between Rey Vargas and Shaquie Foster. Now, Rey Vargas, he just won the featherweight title, the WBC belt from Mark Magsayo just in July of last year in a split decision win. That was only his 2nd fight at featherweight. Before that, he was like a few year long 122-pound champion. And the interesting thing about that is he's pretty damn tall, especially for those lower divisions. He's about 5'10", 5'11". So he's got a crazy height dynamic way down at 122, even at 126. Well, now he's at 130. He's still going to be tall for the division, but he only had those 2 fights at 126. Now he's jumping up to try to capture a title in a 3rd division, and we've got Shaquie Foster, who's been solid at that division for years. So, like Emmanuel Navarrete, who I believe is kind of relinquishing his physical advantages, not so much the height, because Navarrete is 5'7", but reach-wise, Navarrete has a 72-inch reach, the same as Floyd Mayweather Jr., the same as Errol Spence. So imagine the monster that Navarrete was when he was beating Isaac Dogboe in those back-to-back fights down at 122, and then we saw what he did at 126, beating the likes of Ruben Villa, Christopher Diaz, Joet Gonzalez, and so forth. Still looking like a beast, but at 130, he just had a life and death type fight against Liam Wilson, and I'm thinking, whoa, Navarrete, you might want to bring it back down to 126, where you can once again make your physical attributes work for you. At 130, you're just another 5'7" guy. Well, Rey Vargas, again, is still going to be tall for 130, but I just wonder how his... Look, he wasn't a knockout artist to begin with. Yes, he does have a good amount of stoppages, but if you look at his last 8 fights, they have all been decision wins. And that, stretches back into his 122-pound title reign. So he hasn't stopped anybody since 2016. That's over 6 years ago. So I don't think he's going to be a dangerous puncher at 130, but he's got a lot of volume. He's a good boxer. For somebody who's got such a physical advantage with his height, he actually uses the sweet science pretty well. He's a little bit Paul Williams, where you're throwing a lot of volume and in some cases giving up some of your height, but he's a pretty good defensive fighter in that he rolls with a lot of the punches that he gets hit with, even though he had a really tough fight in 2018 against Azat Hovhannisyan, one of the lesser discussed but pretty good names in that, 122-pound, 126-pound range. But yeah, Rey Vargas, he boxed well against Oscar Negrete. He boxed well against Gavin McDonald, Ronnie Rios. He's got some good boxing skills, but the fights usually hit a point where he kind of puts his head down and starts throwing, 3 to 5 punches at a time. He did that a little bit less so against the dangerous puncher, Mark Magsayo, who again, that's who he won the featherweight belt against. I thought that Rey Vargas was a little bit more measured, but he picks his spots on when he boxes and when he goes to war. He does that pretty effectively. And I see him running into an issue with Shaquie Foster. Foster's a good boxer. He doesn't have great power. 11 of his 19 wins are via knockout. He had 2 pretty early losses, like he had lost in 2015 once via a decision in an 8-rounder, and then via split decision in another 8-rounder in 2016. Those are Shaquie Foster's 2 losses. But if you look at his last couple fights against Miguel Roman and against Yakubov, you'll see that he's a sharp boxer, sharp puncher. He has pretty good endurance, even though I feel like the zip on his punches, like a lot of fighters, starts to kind of wane in the back half of the fight. Well, I think that in the first few rounds of Rey Vargas versus Shaquie Foster, Shaquie Foster, in my opinion, is going to be landing the crisper, cleaner punches. We'll say through the first 3 to 4 rounds. I wouldn't be surprised if Shaquie Foster is up 3 rounds to 1 after 4, even if the actual scorecards don't reflect that. Like if they read the scorecards down the line and it's like, damn, they gave Rey Vargas 3 out of those first 4 rounds when maybe a lot of the viewing audience thought that Shaquie Foster should have won most of those. I think this is going to be a difficult fight for Rey Vargas because I think that Shaquie Foster probably has the faster hands. We'll see how Vargas's hand speed, which it's good hand speed. It's not blinding hand speed, but he's got good hand speed. He puts the punches together very well though, and he throws an assortment of like uppercuts with both hands. He throws hooks with both hands. He's got a great arsenal of punches and he mixes it up. And even if his punch pattern starts getting a little bit predictable, he's so overwhelming with his physicality and with his volume that it still is often too much for the opponent. But I think that Shaquie Foster's got a calm enough boxing head where he's not going to just get overwhelmed and he's not going to look like he's getting hit with a whirlwind of activity, especially in the first half of the fight. I think that he's going to be physically stronger than Rey Vargas. I still don't know how Rey Vargas was able to make 122. So who knows? Maybe, throughout these years, he's been compromising himself. I'm just saying that is now 2 weight jumps. And he only fought at 126 twice. Granted, he beat a pretty good fighter in Mark Magsayo, but I would have really wanted to see him fight some of the other 126 elite guys. I know that there are also cross-promotional reasons why it can't happen, but imagine Rey Vargas versus, Emmanuel Navarrete, or Rey Vargas versus the winner of Lee Wood and Mauricio Lara, or Rey Vargas versus, Josh Warrington, Robeisy Ramirez, Michael Conlon, any one of these guys. Gary Russell Jr. when he was a long-time 126-pound WBC champion before Mark Magsayo upset him. Granted, Gary Russell had the shoulder issue, but still, Rey Vargas, he basically just made a pit stop at 126 for a couple fights, picked up the belt, and now he's going up another few pounds to 130. Especially after seeing this Navarrete versus Liam Wilson fight, which I had reservations about before the fight started. I picked Emmanuel Navarrete to win via decision. I thought Liam Wilson was going to go the distance, but I also didn't think Liam Wilson was going to detach, Navarrete from his senses in the way that he was blasting him. But I do have concerns on Rey Vargas's foray into 130, and I wonder not only if Navarrete is going to come back to 126 instead of fighting Oscar Valdez. I would advise him not to fight Oscar Valdez at this point, but I wonder if Rey Vargas is just going to go up in a somewhat opportunistic way of grabbing a belt in the 3rd division and then come back down and have maybe some elite fights at 126. We'll see how he looks at 130, but I do think he's going to have problems in the first half of the fight, but I think that he's going to start coming on strong and putting his foot on the gas in the second half of the fight. This is a 12-rounder. Shaquie Foster does not have a lot of 12-round experience. He only has that one fight with Yakubov from March of 2022. And another thing, before Shaquie Foster's last fight, March of 2022, his last fight before that was November of 2020. So he had like about a year and a half of inactivity between those 2 fights. So it's not like he's had a ton of activity. But, I do suspect that maybe Shaquie Foster, in his skill development trajectory, might be at a sweet spot right now. Like the timing might be good where he's peaking at the right time. He's 29 years old right now. Rey Vargas is 32. There's only going to be a 2-inch height advantage. It's going to be 5'10 against 5'8. Shaquie Foster, at least on paper, has a half an inch reach advantage. We're talking 72 inches to Rey Vargas's 71.5 inches. Think about that. Navarrete at 5'7 has a longer reach than the 5'10 Rey Vargas. But I don't think you're going to get the same dynamic that occurs in a lot of Rey Vargas's fights. So I think he's going to have to really gut it out because I don't think he's going to outbox Shaquie Foster in the way that he outboxed Mark Magsayo. I think he's going to have to get gritty and kind of outwork Shaquie Foster. And I think that he's going to win a close split decision type win. I think that this one might even be a little bit controversial where some people might think that Shaquie Foster should have edged the fight. But I'm going to take Rey Vargas via majority decision / split decision type win. I think it's going to be not exactly a tale of two fights, front half and back half, but I think that Shaquie Foster is going to win most of the first half of the fight, and I think that Rey Vargas is going to win most of the second half of the fight. But I think that there's going to be a little bit of back and forth in terms of who won the rounds sprinkled throughout this one. But I think that Rey Vargas is going to finish stronger than Shaquie Foster and come away with the win and win a belt in his third division. But again, look, I think it's going to be a close fight. I wouldn't be totally surprised at an Shaquie Foster win here, even though Rey Vargas is shown that he's got a good chin, at least at 122 and 126. But we have to see how he looks at 130. Nothing is guaranteed. Sometimes we see these fighters being able to weight hop and being able to win and have continued success as they go up in weight. Sometimes we take that for granted. We'll see how Rey Vargas looks at 130, but I think that he's going to come away from this fight with a close decision win. But yeah, let me know what your thoughts are on Rey Vargas versus Shaquie Foster in the comments. Who do you see winning this one and how? And what should Rey Vargas and what should Emmanuel Navarrete do after these 130-pound fights? Like, we just saw them both go up at about the same time to try to capture a belt in a third division. What would you recommend for Emmanuel Navarrete? I think that he should come back and maybe try to, because they're both on top rank here, fight Michael Conlan maybe. And maybe even that could be a bad matchup for Navarrete. But I would like to see Navarrete versus someone like a Michael Conlan. Michael Conlan's been looking very good since that dramatic knockout loss to Lee Wood. But I want to see both of these guys, Rey Vargas and Emmanuel Navarrete, come back to 126, especially Navarrete. We'll see how Rey Vargas looks. But again, don't sleep on Shaquie Foster here. I think he's going to give Rey Vargas a lot of trouble, and I think that there are going to be times where he's looking like the crisper, cleaner boxer, even the sharper puncher, and maybe even the more coordinated and accurate puncher out of the two, at least in different stretches. We'll see how the back half of this fight looks because it's Rey Vargas who has all the 12-round experience. But yeah, let me know your thoughts. Please like the video, subscribe to the channel if you are into the fight talk. I'm Woog. Thanks for tuning in.